the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we're looking at NBA best bets here, some sides and totals on Friday to end the work week with you guys. Definitely want to make sure to like the video, subscribe to that page as well. We also have player props up in a separate episode, and we're bringing both of those to you each and every weekday moving forward throughout the regular season and into the playoffs, obviously, as well. Also have plenty of NFL player prop action up on the YouTube channel as well. So make sure that you are checking all that stuff out as we gear up for the divisional round this weekend. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first best bet here from this 9-game slate.
Yeah, let's ride this OKC train. I mean, it opened at -6 here in Dallas, but now up to -8.5. So I'd still take it at -7.5 with SGA scoring 30, and that'll get you plus money. I think you might as well kind of double down in that sense because they really depend on his scoring. Of course, him and J-Dub, I like both their opportunities here tonight against Dallas with no Derek Lively. Looks like Kyrie will be back, but like, are you really scared of him taking over this game? Like, he averaged under 16 in the playoff series last year with 19% usage against the Thunder, with, and the Thunder added Alex Caruso, and Kayson Wallace is better this season, and Kyrie only 20 points per game in the two meetings this year. It's like, were you worried that they actually beat OKC back in November? That was basically the product of second chance points. And are you worried that Isaiah Hartenstein is out and therefore they will be more second chance points? I would be, but Derek Lively is also out. And the offensive rebounds fall off a cliff for Dallas without Lively. They're down to 7.4 per game, which is one of the worst in the league, versus like 12.5 with him. And their defensive rating, 5 points worse. Also, they've also had a really high turnover rate against the Thunder, which is how Thunder were able to pull away in the last meeting. If you turn it over against this team, it's just death. The Thunder are just elite guarding the 3-point line recently. 30% from three on the road right now, and number one, both corner threes and above the break threes in the last 10. Also, that defensive rating in the first quarter we talked about, which just, puts teams to bed on the road. They've just been on an absolute mission, 15-1 since the NBA Cup. 10 of their last 11 wins by double digits. This is another revenge spot after they just got revenge on the Cavs. And SGA, 30 plus in 19 of his last 24. Here are the opponents he did not get 30 against: Wizards, Hornets, Heat, Jazz, and Clippers, where he had 29 points. So any, competitive team, basically, or like not, those are just gross teams he doesn't need his full effort for. He's averaged against the Mavs after they dumped Derek Jones Jr. in the offseason, averaged 37.5 on 67% shooting in 2 against them this year. They are now the second worst mid-range D in their last 10, and they have no answers for him. OKC 7-0 on a back-to-back. SGA, his best offensive rating on a back-to-back in 7 games this year. So tie the two together, get you a little bit better return on this potential scenario.
Yeah, I can see it easily. I think he just continues to go off. I really wish that I had just really listened to the part of me that was like, Isaiah Hartenstein being out might mean that this just becomes a blowout against the Cavs. Like, I was like, they might just score 9,000 points tonight. And they did. And the Cavs were exposed for what they will become when the playoffs come around. And we see what happens there. And the Thunder are showing that, like, you don't want to freaking play them in a 7-game series, man. And this is a team in Dallas that I would actually say is currently a nice sneaky dark horse. I believe in them more than some other team cappers and bettors that I know believe in the Dallas Mavs. But I'm just sitting here like, this is classic Mavs, man. They're just going to bide their time and just lose these games and win the ones that they need to until Luka and Kyrie are back. And then they're going to Kyruka their way to the finals, or at least the Western Conference finals. And this might be the matchup. But for right now, SGA on a tear, going for that MVP. Keep going after him. I totally agree with all that stuff. So New York, -4.5 against their budding rivals in the Timberwolves, just because of the trade, obviously. But so that makes it interesting. However, one of the members of that trade won't be playing in this game. That's Dante DiVincenzo. He's going to be out in this one after he put it on his other former team, the Warriors, with like 6 or 7 threes the other night as well. But either way, we're coming back here to a New York team at home. They wiped the floor with this team in Minnesota in the last game. And now I just don't know what Minnesota is going to do to keep scoring if this New York defense actually decides to ball pressure the ball handler rather than just, or excuse me, not over pressure the ball handler. Either way, here's what I'm looking at. The Knicks, getting to at least the trends and some stuff, some stats. We'll talk about the matchup in one sec. 11-8 against the spread at home this season with a 10.6 margin of victory on average. So really nice there. They're 0-1 as the dog. They lost by 25 when they were a home dog to the Seas, obviously, and that was nasty. But other than that, they are a +9 net rating at home, +4.4 on the road. So this is, I don't know what Knicks fans seem to be complaining about on Twitter. This team is good, and it's going to be good, and it's going to be a top 3 team in the East for the whole season. But at home specifically, that's where they have been making their hay a bit as well. Similar record, but 13-7 there, straight up. They do limit the catch and shoot. They are bad versus the pick and roll, and I expect that to do a little bit of a reversal because we actually saw in the last game. If you jump into the box score, you look at the matchups in the last game. Ant was doubled very consistently. He had 17 points. Obviously, he didn't get his normal minutes, but he still played 34 minutes in that one, as they did try to make a little bit of a comeback in the third quarter, and it was kind of all for naught, and the beginning of the fourth. But more importantly, the assists should be there more for him in this one. And it's just sort of a difference in how New York plays. That's what I noticed. They normally will limit that catch and shoot stuff. They won't allow you to get the open threes in the corner or even above the break. But in this situation and what we saw in the game last game that they played against Minnesota, that was not the case. They switched it up, and Ant was really facing a lot more double teams. He was facing a lot more top locking, up top, where basically no one was letting him go. The man hedging on the screen, basically it was Cat in that game. I think he's going to play in this one too, but the man hedging the screen basically it was like, Ant, you're going to have to pass the ball. You're not allowed to go around me. You're not allowed to run out and get to the rim. And so there's going to be more catch and shoot available, but now their best catch and shoot player is not in. So that's really what it came down to. Was I was like, look, if they're going to keep playing the same way on Ant, then someone's going to have to make these shots. And I don't trust Mike Conley to do it. And I don't think he's going to get back up above 20, 22 minutes max in this game. So now you're talking about, can Nickeil Alexander-Walker, can Jaden McDaniels hit some open threes? Can Julius Randle hit some open threes? I don't know. I don't believe in it. And I also don't really know if Ant's going to play as much PG in this one because there is no White Dante. So I really don't know. Right, when Mike Conley's on the floor, Ant is playing a little bit more off ball. So either way, they're going to focus on Ant, and they know that if they just limit him to like less than 30 points, this offense is so stagnant that they're going to be good enough to go. So I don't think they're going to be able to hang on offense is really what it comes down to. I think the Knicks are going to pull away enough to cover 4.5.
Yeah, certainly you want Cat to be in there, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he's perpetually questionable, but Dante being out for the first time this season, probably a bigger deal than it might seem based on his raw numbers, just what he's been able to do. Spacing wise, playing with Naz Reid. I think I looked at the Knicks here too. Yeah, I think it's one of the simpler caps to go with, and it makes a lot of sense. So Celtics to bounce back here at home against Orlando. The thing is, it's gained so much steam since I took this team total at 112.5. It is now 114.5. And, probably going to keep rising. Spread's now -14 because Orlando's just looked pretty bad lately with everybody out. I think you can still find value on the third quarter over for the Celtics. 28.5, good odds at FanDuel. If, I think the Magic, one way or another, they're just so feisty, so well coached. Maybe they're hanging around here through the first half and they cover that 8.5 spread in the first half, and then the Celtics just put them away because they just don't have the defensive performers right now to contain a Celtics team that is hot and cold and is probably going to be hot coming off a loss. That their last 6 after a loss, 120.5 points per game. Last 6 at home since they shit the bed against the Bulls. There is that one loss against the Kings in there, but still 119 a game, 122 rating, basically 18 threes. Magic struggling to contain the 3-point line lately. This elite 3-point defense is allowing 42% on low volume in the last 3 because they're also getting crushed in the paint. Like the Bucks only took 12 threes last time out and scored 122 because Goga got knocked out of that game, right? They have a 114 defensive rating without Goga this season, 7 games, 113 defensive rating in the 3 Paolo has played since he's still a little limited by the oblique. And Tristan da Silva playing big minutes has a 112 defensive rating compared to like 106 for Franz, one of those dudes. Obviously, Suggs, a big deal here in this matchup in terms of being able to limit Boston. Orlando's played Boston tough, but the last 3 meetings allowed 115, and the last 2 in Boston allowed 121, with the Celtics shooting 45% from 3. The Celtics have their full squad here. They're at home. They've probably heard a few talk shows talking about how they're not a real championship contender or whatever. I think they come out here to make a statement, and I think, yeah, wherever you can find value in that, in them just scoring a bunch here, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, no doubt. This was a pick I told you I was going to make myself. I was actually going to make it just for the team total. I'm okay with that still. Did you say it rose from 112.5? Is it
Yeah, up
higher
to
now?
114.5 as we speak.
I don't know. I just saw the total at like, whatever it is, 216, something like that. Right? And I was just like, oh, 213, 213. Okay, great. So the Celtics just need to score 113, 14 points. Great. And now it's just going to keep going up. I would play this up to 115. I would play this up to 114.5, honestly, for the team total for the C's. I mean, look, if you get the victory cigar out there, it's interesting. We took Peyton P in the last game. He wasn't the victory cigar. He just was very good. I would still consider him at 10.5 points in this one. I do think that they could run away with this a bit more. And I think that once you bring out Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, and JD, is it Walsh? There's a Peterson out there. There's a whole bunch of names
Jordan
out there.
Walsh. Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan Walsh. There you go. We'll get some Drew Peterson, I believe, is who I'm thinking about. We'll see some of those guys in there. They're not bad, man. They're good scorers, and if you have Peyton P and Sam Hauser on the floor as your like garbage time players, your team's probably filthy, which is where we're at with the Celtics. So I think they'll have no problem scoring in this game against an Orlando team that is going to still bring it on defense, but man, they are just losing weapons. So let me get over to another team total. I'm just going to take the Lakers. I thought about adding the Nets to the total, just taking the game total. And I'm pretty sure anybody who saw the score of the Nets game the other night after it was done against the Clippers, that was last night or 2 nights ago. Now days are melding together, but it's nasty out there. So I just took the team total. We're not going to have DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith. Just want to give him a quick mazel tov on the new baby boy. We'll maybe be looking at some of that new dad stuff when he comes back, see if maybe there's a little bump for him, hitting some threes for his new kid. But in the meantime, this LA defense is terrible. That's kind of what I was looking at initially to really like get into the over for the whole game. I think how bad the Nets are is going to trump how bad the Lakers are on defense. So I really don't want to have to trust them to get even like 95 points. I don't want to have to trust them to get in the 90s at this point for the Nets. There's just not, there's no offense, and it's on purpose. I mean, there are individual players worthy of being in the NBA on an NBA floor on the Nets. I just don't know if you put them together that they're going to amount to anything close to being able to come together with this. But LA does need to work on its defense. It's 28th in defensive rating in the last 10, despite adding Max Christie to the starting lineup, losing D'Lo, adding DFS. This team is still a bottom 5 defense in the league. 30th limiting rim points, the 30th in terms of the opponent field goal percentage when they get inside 5 feet inside the restricted area. They're 20th limiting offensive rebound percentage as well, which offensive rebounds, it's kind of like what, like it just, you're going to get more points, right? It's kind of like a pick 6 in the NFL or creating a short field almost in the NFL with like, turning somebody over in their side of the field. That's how I see those offensive rebounds. And that's why I do like that to contribute to the total for the game. But for the Lakers, they are going to at least need to score some points to cover the fact that they will give up some nasty buckets to the Nets around the rim in the off. Like that's what their offense is. It's like, can Keon Johnson or Jalen Wilson or someone out athletic you or make a 3? And then can Nick Claxton, Day'Ron Sharp, and whoever, Noah Clowney, all these big guys, can they crash the boards and just that's the whole Nets game. So I think that's going to be how they keep the pace up from that standpoint, is that they are just going to keep going to the rim and trying to attack them. And if they can't get it, then the Lakers are going to be out in the fast break. And on the other side of the ball, it's interesting because the Nets are slightly less awful on defense than the Lakers in the last 10 games. They're 27th in defensive rating compared to 28th for the Lake Show. But the Lakers are going to get whatever they want going to the rim. The biggest thing here is I think they're going to live at the free throw line. I think we're going to see AD continue to crash into those dudes. And same with LeBron at this point. You're going to see Austin Reeves able to find shooters. If you look at the way that this Nets team is defending out on the 3-point line, they are giving up the 3rd highest field goal percentage to 3-point shooters above the break. They are also giving up the 7th most corner threes as well. So I think you're going to see plenty of these dudes for the Lakers who are standing to wait and catch and shoot off of LeBron or Austin Reeves have some good games. I kind of like Max Christie in this one. I'm not guaranteeing that he's going to get garbage time. I think maybe guys like Dalton Connect will be a little bit better for that garbage time numbers. If you see them at like 7.5 points or something, I think they'll probably be good for like 20, 22 minutes. And that's what the other thing with the Lakers team total is. When you bring in those backups, their bench unit is capable of scoring. It's much more offensive minded than defensive minded for those backups. So I think we'll continue to see them able to score even when they don't have their starters on the floor. And 115 isn't too much against this Nets squad.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Austin Reeves props have calmed down a lot, and you can get now 30 PRA. I think he should actually have success boarding up as well against a team that's going to miss a lot of shots. He hasn't recently. And yeah, the facilitating stuff you talked about. I think the Nets, yeah, it's like if D'Lo and Cam Johnson are in, you can go ahead and fire an over. Right. And if they're out, like you don't want any part of their team, their team total. So I like how you're playing this year based on what we know right now, because both guys are going to be questionable every single night. But once you see if they're ruled in, I think if it's 216 for the game total, then you go ahead and take that. Maybe some D'Lo props in the revenge angle.
Could be, yeah. If D'Lo ends up on the floor, be very careful with D'Lo. I mean, he's had like yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever he was out, then he was in again, then he was out, then he was in, then he was out. It happened like changed back and forth like 3 times between when we recorded and when that game actually started. So be careful with him. But agreed, I should have mentioned Cam J. If he is out there, look, they want to lose, we get that, but they also need to ship Cam J somewhere. So you got to put him on the floor to make teams want to play him. So I'm hoping we get him out there, and that's why I originally thought total of the game. But you're right, like right now I got to play this just the Lakers, because if Keon Johnson and or Cam Johnson ain't out there, good luck scoring the ball there, Nets. But that's all the time we have for you in this one. Definitely want to make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the player prop episode we have up alongside this one every single day. Until we see you next, happy betting.